we are. Hey, how you doing? Good to have you with us on the Blues postgame show on STL Sports Central. Luke Slabaugh, Randy Karraker. Great to have you with us after the Blues 2-1 win over the Dallas Stars tonight at Enterprise Center. The Blues did allow that late goal, but they only allowed 19 shots on goal. A pretty performance. Not seeing me. We got a problem here. Hold on here. There we go. It's good to get a win.
Yes, Randy, and this is one of those nights that makes you proud to be a Blues fan or associated with the team in any capacity, I'll say. And feel free, people in the comment section, to challenge us here. This was by far the most complete effort I have seen out of the St. Louis Blues this season. We're 5 games into this puppy, so correct me if I'm wrong. But in terms of just the chemistry on offense, you started to see that togetherness building there in the second period, and the defensive accountability that the Blues have been searching for the first few games. We knew that they were going to get younger on the defensive side of the puck, and they boosted their depth at center. But tonight, incredible performance. Jordan Binnington damn near stood on his head for 60 minutes. They give up the goal late, as you had mentioned, Randy. This is one of those games that it was a good momentum booster. The first 2 at home, kind of an anomaly. You get outscored 13-3. It's a little bit of a what's going on here, but it's a team that's finding its own identity and own chemistry under Jim Montgomery in his first full season. They went on that great stretch the final 27 games of last season. It's time to turn the page, time to focus on this nucleus and this core here that still has some great veteran leadership. We talked to Braden Shen this week talking about doing better away from the puck, defensive accountability. I saw this team so much better today in zone coverage with gap control, better in transition, clean zone exits. This was one that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, the Blues were so much better tonight, and Jim Montgomery talked about having the better energy, get things going at home, because when you lose 5-0 and then 8-3 on home ice, that is not good. And so the energy was better tonight. I thought the Blues defensively, and maybe this had something to do with Logan Mailloux not being in there, but they were tighter defensively, as we mentioned, allowing only 19 shots, and they win it by a score of 3-1. And we welcome the folks that are tuned in to provide anything that they want on the chat tonight. We're here to respond to that. I thought it was great that the Blues got Jordan Kyrou going too. I think that's really important for this team. Remember, he got off to a slow start last year, and it set the Blues back. I think it really affected the head coach, Drew Bannister, and led to his firing. And then Kyrou played so much better once Jim Montgomery took over. And I think that he is such a key for this team. And one of the reasons that they moved Bolduc rather than Kyrou is that Kyrou is one of the players in the league that's capable of scoring 45 to 50 goals. There's a handful of guys that are capable of doing that. He's topped out at 37 so far in his career. But the Blues need to have Jordan Kyrou performing, and Jim Montgomery has said this. They need to have him performing at a high level if they're going to be a successful team. And maybe tonight is the start of a hot streak for Kyrou. You have to hope so. Starting off the season with that line that did so well last year, and then Montgomery talked earlier today about changing things around and kind of jumbling up the lines. He was able to do that, did that, and the Blues had some success with it.
They had some success, and that's the thing, Randy, is, I mean, Jordan Kyrou, a mainstay from those great Blues teams at the end of the decade, and he's still just 27. They need him to assume that leadership role and become more integral. But how did that scoring opportunity even start? It was him denying a 3-on-2 in the neutral zone, a giveaway by Alexander Petrovic by the Stars. Goes through the neutral zone, goes backhand to forehand. Incredible play by him, at least showing some two-way ability. And we also got to talk about an ability, Randy. Take it away on our friends, the team behind our team. You see Homebank?
Homebank is going to provide us our money moment of the game, and that's the goal we're talking about, that Jordan Kyrou goal tonight. The great job in the neutral zone. As you mentioned, great defense. He has developed a 200-foot game, and he got the Blues off and running tonight. The Blues needed to get off to a fast start, and he provided the first goal of the game. They maintained that lead for the entirety of the game. They did allow that late goal, but at least they didn't allow that 6-on-5. But Kyrou scoring at the 2:27 mark of the second from Braden Shen. And that is the home bank money moment of the game. And our Blues postgame is brought to you by our business banking partners at Home Bank. From business lending to everyday banking, Home Bank has been with us since day one as a trusted partner here at STL Sports Central. And business isn't just about numbers, it's about relationships. And with Home Bank, those relationships make all the difference. Home Bank is the team behind our team at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. Home Bank, member FDIC. More than a bank, they're your business partner. The money moment of the game brought to you by Home Bank, the team behind our team at STL Sports Central. Again, visit myhomebank or call 855-577-2001. What did you? I got to tell you, I was kind of disappointed that the Blues sat Logan Mailloux. I kind of think when you trade a player of the ilk of Zach Bolduc, that you have to know what you're getting, and you have to give that guy an opportunity. Now, I respect the Blues, and Jim Montgomery knows what he's doing, and he said, "Look, when he's back, he's going to be there forever. We aren't going to take him out again," but the Blues did play better, much better defensively with Mailloux out of the lineup tonight. And Matthew Kessel gets 9-11 in ice time. He's a +1 tonight. He performed well. He and Tucker together, Tucker with 9:46, and he's also a +1 tonight. And that's one of the things that I think you run into when you're going to sit a guy like Mailloux. If he performs as poorly as he performed and Kessel performs well, and we saw Matt Kessel a couple of years ago perform at a pretty high level for the Blues, and it looked like he was going to be a top 4 quality guy. If Kessel performs that way, maybe he prevents Mailloux from getting into the lineup. I think that's one of the chances you take when you sit a guy, and it's definitely one of the chances you take when you trade a guy like Bolduc for a guy who has played 6 games in the National Hockey League, or however many he played last year. But he certainly doesn't have the history, even of a guy like Kessel in the NHL. Mailloux doesn't.
He doesn't. I think it speaks to the character of Kessel. Yeah, I think it speaks to the character of Kessel as well, coming in there at 6'3" and going to be the number 7 defender. I think was pretty much the gist going into the season. In Mailloux, he's 22 years old. He's going to have a chance to prove himself, no doubt. Taking a look at some of the comments here. Jay Call here on YouTube. We appreciate you all tuning in here to STL Sports Central, saying Jimmy Snuggerud, 3 goals in the last 3 games. Rookie of the year, certainly on tap for that. That was, you said, getting him going. And I really liked that goal in particular because you're talking about creating danger, controlling the slot. That poking it in, Bucci cuts to the middle. The defense is collapsing in for the Stars. And then it's supported by 3 sequences in a row where the Blues have good middle lane drives. They're finding options on the wing, Buchnevich initially, then cutting into the center. And Dallas is forced to ice the puck. They're on their heels there in an incredible second period. I thought that was, maybe the best 20 minutes that we've seen from the Blues, but in terms of the offensive possessions, really something spectacular.
And I know that we have high expectations for Snuggerud. A lot of people, Matthew Rocchio being one of those, thinks that he should be the Calder Trophy winner, that he should win the Rookie of the Year in the NHL this year. There's a long ways to go, but you need him, because you traded Bolduc, to be a key offensive performer. He tied for the Blues lead in shots tonight with 4. He went to the net. He and Neighbors are both really proficient at that when they go. But, man, you got to really show a lot of effort. And I thought Snuggerud tonight played his best game in terms of being physical, in terms of going to the net, and obviously he plays a pretty solid 200-foot game. I was very pleased, and I would think that Montgomery will be really pleased with the way Snuggerud performed tonight as well. That's one of the things, Luke, about this team that is different than it was last year at this time. In the first few games when Drew Bannister was the head coach, they've got a group of guys that play a 200-foot game. I don't think that there's a forward on this team where you say, I don't want him on the ice when I have a 1-goal lead. I don't want him on the ice because I'm concerned that he'll allow a goal. I think everybody on this team, among the forwards that play on a regular basis, that includes Matthew Joseph, are good enough defensive players, if not great defensive players, that you're comfortable putting them on the ice in any situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Every single situation and every opportunity that presented itself tonight for them to go on the attack and make those plays. I thought it was great. You find an opportunity to get a high percentage shot for Jimmy Snuggerud there. I think that's going to be absolute money. We've seen, neighbors evolve the last year or so. This is a pretty intense group of forwards that's just trying to make a statement here in Montgomery's first full season and trying to show what they're worth. And you go up against a team that have been in the Western Conference Finals the last 3 years. This is not a lucky win. This is hard earned. This is tooth and claw. And I thought in terms of physicality on both ends, man, it was a great 60 minutes, a really great 60 minutes.
And by the way, I think we have to give a lot of credit to Jordan Binnington. He made 18 saves, but some of those saves were spectacular. He made a great save at the end of the first, another great save at the end of the second period. He was sensational tonight. And the Blues and Jeremy Rutherford had a good piece at The Athletic today, talking about the number of high danger chances the Blues had given up. And I think we can classify both of those at the end of the first and at the end of the second as high danger chances. So Binnington played a huge role, as he usually does, in the Blues winning tonight.
Yeah, all 7 shots in the slot in that second period. I mean, the Blues really had them, by the throat kind of on their defensive end. But man, for Binner to be able to stand on his head for the first 58 minutes of this game it's vintage Binner. It's what we've come to expect. And all those opportunities where we saw potential odd man rushes, especially late in the periods. I remember Justin Falk there in the second. He blocks a 3-on-2 from happening, has that quick takeaway there on the edge, near the point rather. And those are those chances. Maybe you rewind the clock 2 to 3 years towards the end of Berube's time, where those would be penetrated. Those would be taken advantage of rather quickly. And so to be able to see the Blues course correct here 5 games into the season and not have this be a narrative of, oh my goodness, was this defense going to do it so young? Really good to see.
And they need, and you mentioned Justin Falk, they need him to perform not at a level like he performed at in Carolina, but they need to have him be league average. And I thought tonight was an important, and the season so far has been an important start for Justin Falk. I don't think that he's ever going to be that 40-point defenseman that we thought the Blues were going to get. Remember, Luke, they proactively traded for him when it became pretty clear to the front office of the Blues that Pietrangelo was not going to be back. And I think people unfairly thought that he would be a replacement for Alex Pietrangelo because he replaced him on the roster, but he's just not that great of a player. Pietrangelo, he was a top 9 Norris Trophy winner on 3 different occasions. That being said, I think that he is maximizing his talents, and I think Justin Falk can be a key member of this team because, as you mentioned, the defense is young with the 2 guys on the third pairing and Broberg, who's not that old. You've got 3 young defensemen, and then you need your veterans. You need Cam Fowler, you need Karraker, you need Falk to play at a representative level. You cannot have a guy like Falk playing at a bad level. And I think that so far this year, he's at least been good, and I don't expect him to be great. So I'll take what he provides. And by the way, he does lead the Blues in plus minus. Some people can take that stat, some people can leave it, but he is +2 to start the season, which leads the team.
Yeah, the advanced analytics crowd might be against the plus minus in the chat here right now, but I can see that point for sure, and I would agree with you. Had a defensive turnover there, kind of late first period, and that was one chance that Wyatt Johnston had for the Stars. That again, Binner really extended himself to make a good save there. I would say Falk is integral, and also Parayko. What was it? Passing David Backes for 7th most games in franchise history tonight. Right. I remember when he was coming up, still trying to finish up his degree, his first season with the Blues, and how much he's evolved since then. Had that big contract extension, won a cup. I mean, this is a guy that, while he's not going to have his jersey hanging in the rafters, probably, this is going to be a formative season for this Blues defense, and he's going to be a big part of it.
Well, and the Blues looked for such a long time for a partner for Parayko once they lost Jay Bouwmeester and they acquired Leddy. They acquired Scandella. They acquired multiple guys. Broberg started off with him last year. Finally, they have a partner that can maximize the talents of Parayko in Cam Fowler. And that's you wouldn't think that you need that for a 31-year-old defenseman who's been around the league for 8 or 9 years, but that is what the Blues need. And they have the perfect guy now in Cam Fowler. He makes Colton Parayko maximize his talents. And Parayko is uber talented, but he's a much better player when he has a reliable left defenseman next to him, which is what he has.
Indeed, it does. Time for ad copy.
I'll tell you what, our friends at DraftKings are getting ready to get things started here in the St. Louis metro area. And when you are ready to go, they'll be ready to go on the very 1st of December. And all you need to do is download the DraftKings app, and you can get started. And when you make a $5 bet on DraftKings, you'll get $300 in bonus credits when DraftKings gets started in Missouri on December 1st. You have waited for a long time, but now the wait is over with DraftKings. All you need to do, download that DraftKings app, use that promo code right there on your screen, STL Sports, and you'll be able to use DraftKings when they get rolling on December 1st. We'll be in the midst of the heart of the hockey season. We'll be rocking and rolling with football. We'll be getting ready for the college football bowls, and we'll just be ready to have a lot of fun with DraftKings. It's so much more fun to watch a game and follow a game when you're using DraftKings and you've got a little bit of action on it. Go to DraftKings and download their app right now on your phone. Use that promo code right there, STL Sports, and we'll all be using DraftKings as of December 1st. It'll be right here in Missouri. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Potential prop bet for you here. There was a question in the chat. Ace6583 Rob, a member of ours, he's got the little subscription badge there, says, do the Blues stay with these lines, Randy?
Well, no, they don't. And just look, we're only 5 games into the season, and look how much change we've already had. We had changes on the very first night of the season. It's just not a thing in hockey anymore where we have a kid line or a French connection line or the Russian line in Detroit. We just don't have lines anymore that have names. The Blues have had a few. They had the WTF line last year for a while, but it didn't stick together. Remember the CPR line? But through the course of the season, through the course of 82 games, Jim Montgomery is going to make a lot of changes. And the Blues, at some point, are going to bring up Dvorsky, and I think that'll give you a different look in your top 9. I would think that at some point we'll see Lucic, and that'll change things around. So, no, I don't think the Blues will keep the same lines. Now, there's a chance that maybe some of the pairings will stay together. That was something that Joel Quenneville liked, Keenan liked, Hitchcock liked, is the pairings. But Montgomery doesn't even really seem to care about that. He seems to just get a group that has chemistry on a particular night and get them going. So, no, I don't think that we will see lines stick together. I think we'll see Snuggerud up and down the lineup. I think we'll definitely see Neighbors up and down the lineup. I would guess at some point, although Pius Suter is a really good defensive player, I think at some point he'll probably wind up oscillating between the second and third line. So, no, I doubt that we'll see the same lines, but I do think that aside from Matthew Joseph, who, by the way, has played well so far, the Blues will have a pretty consistent group of forwards. We'll see Dvorsky at some point, but if they stay healthy, I could see this group going through the whole season. And there will be players that are in and out of the lineup, but I think they'd like to have the majority of their good guys available for 82 games.
Indeed. And we're talking about, depth on this team, specifically at the forward position. One guy who really impressed me and set the tone today, Randy, mid-first period, Nathan Walker on the penalty kill. He got Tyler Tucker there with that roughing call. Excellent positioning. And the Blues have talked about this needing more disciplined positioning there on the penalty kill. They were 27th last year in the league, 74% of penalties killed. And so he denies a scoring chance there with his stick, able to actually block the shot. And then with under 20 in that same Dallas power play, he cuts off a pass, a giveaway by Thomas Harley. He takes it into the offensive zone. No shots on goal allowed in that first penalty kill by the Blues. Talking about buttoning up special teams in this year under Jim Montgomery. And I think that those give momentum, even if you don't see the flashy play on either side, to be able to lock down and be in excellent positioning. And a guy like Nathan Walker, who does just work his ass off and just has meant a lot in terms of work ethic and part of this team. Whenever he succeeds, man, I get a big smile because that guy is just awesome.
Yeah, and the reason the Blues gave him the 2-year contract is because he does those little things. He's never going to score 25 goals. He's never going to be a big point guy, but he brings energy. Like you say, he plays solid fundamentally on the special teams. And the Blues special teams, when Jim Montgomery was here as an assistant, were terrific. And that's one of the hallmarks of a Jim Montgomery team, is that they play good special teams. He just didn't have them for a long enough time last year to get the penalty kill to be great. But I think having a training camp, I think this penalty kill has a chance to be very good. I think adding a guy like Suter will improve the penalty kill. And I think now that Walker has a solidified role on the team, and we know he's going to play every single night, he'll be a big part of that PK. And I'm with you. I really like the way that he goes about his business, because some guys are so concerned about what happens at the offensive end. Sometimes they forget about what's going on the defensive end. I think the first part of Nathan Walker's game is to bring energy and play good defense, and then any offense that comes out of it is a bonus.
Yeah, this reminds me a couple years ago. I think it was Berube's last year with the team. I was writing some stuff for then Bally Sports, the old mothership.
Mhm.
And I would go to Blues practices. And I remember my boss at the time, Mike Narstead, no longer there, but I mean, incredible man, was like, should do a article about the art of the one timer. Just, the angles, the techniques, the timing, what all goes into it. And you got a locker room, people are running in and out, it's practice. They're trying to get out there at the Centene Ice Center, and Nathan Walker is sitting on his own. And I sit next to him and I said, "Hey man, I'm working on a piece about the one timer. Can you help me?" And he laughs and he goes, "What are you talking to me for, man? Like, I'd love to." And yet he was able to provide something. That's an apocryphal piece. It doesn't exist anymore on the line, but that's that.
Well,
I mean,
but you know what? Here's the thing, and that's one of the great things of when you're on the power play. Brett Hull was as good as there ever was with the one timer. Alex Ovechkin is amazing, and what happens is, even with a guy like Tarasenko, he was not very good on the one timer. It's a gift to be able to perform the one timer really well, and I'm sure that a guy like Nathan Walker has worked on it in practice, because he works his butt off in practice. But not everybody can do it. Al McInnes was terrific with the one timer, but it's a real gift, and not as many guys. It's interesting. Not as many guys can do it in the National Hockey League now as they did, for example, in the '90s. You had a guy like Glenn Anderson, who made his career off of playing special teams, being on the power play and one timers. Now he had Gretzky passing him the puck, which helped, but it's just not as utilized as it is. And I'm always amazed, Luke, when I see Ovechkin always wide open in the dot to the right of the goalie, always on the power play, and they feed him for that one timer, and he always seems to get his stick on it. It always seems to be a hard shot. It's amazing.
Ace comments down in the chat. David Perron was one of the good ones for the Blues.
Yeah, great call.
At that.
Yeah, and when he and O'Reilly were playing together, they just had such great chemistry. That's a really good call. That Perron, probably his best year in terms of being on the power play, and with the one timers, playing with Ryan O'Reilly really benefited Perron.
There was a David Perron shout out on the broadcast tonight on FanDuel with Snuggerud with 4 goals in his first 12 regular season games, just second most for a Blues youngin since David Perron, since the start of this century. So always love a good shout out there. We got a nice little homestand coming up here, Randy. We've got 2 more games, Kings and the Mammoth. And around
LA is one of the best teams in the league. Quietly, they're great. Anze Kopitar is playing his last year in the league, and remember a few years ago when the Blues traded their players for picks, they had the big sell-off, and they got the first-round picks that resulted in the Lindstein and the Dvorsky choices. Well, after those trades, when Doug Armstrong was asked about how he would like to go about a rebuild, he said, "I think the team that's done it the best is the Kings." And he's exactly right. The Kings have done a fantastic job of getting competitive rather quickly, being a really good, solid, tough, heavy team, and the every aspect of their game, their goaltending, their defense, their forwards, they have depth and quality. And so they will be a handful for the Blues. And then Utah, man, they've had the best system when they were in Phoenix in the league for years and years. And now that's finally manifesting itself. We're starting to see some of those young, formerly Phoenix, now Utah players that are rising up and turning into really good players. And hopefully the Blues will be able to play well against them, because, man, how many times did the Blues play the Coyotes, and the Coyotes just had the Blues number? when they were in Phoenix. And it didn't happen as much last year. But I think those young players, for whatever reason, they're confident against the Blues. Maybe it was that stretch during COVID where they played. I think they played 7 games in a row against each other. It was like a playoff series, and the Coyotes at the time, now Mammoth, had a really good stretch against the Blues. For whatever reason, there are teams that play well against other teams, and Utah is one that plays well against the Blues. So if the Blues haven't learned anything else early this season, is that with the performance against Chicago, you can't take anything for granted. You better come out ready to play every single game.
You took the words right out of my mouth. You can't take anything for granted. The Blues and the Mammoth both have 6 points apiece. And I do say there's a little bit of a reckless abandon there that you saw from the then Coyotes, now Mammoth. I think the Ducks as well, when they were in transition and Zegras was just breaking in, they always seem to have good breakout, standout moments for those young players. And so that'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it, Randy. And hopefully we'll
and one other thing, Luke, about that team, and if you watch Utah when the Blues play them next week, they are Bill Armstrong, the former Blues assistant general manager, who's the general manager of the Mammoth now, is building them in kind of the same vein that the Blues have been built to. So the Blues might see a younger version of themselves. It might be kind of like the Spider-Man meme, where there's 2 Spider-Men. I think you'll see a good, heavy team, tall defensemen with great sticks and a lot of speed up front. I think that you'll see a lot of what you see in the Blues in Utah when they're in town.
I'm looking forward to it, Randy. You got any final thoughts as we wrap this up? A 3-1 win, finally just getting one out of the way at home. Like,
Well,
that's just...
and I think it was really important for the Blues to bounce back after the disaster against Chicago because, and granted, Hofer had a bad night that night. He'll be fine, but the Blues just did not play well in that game either, and they certainly didn't play well in the opener against Minnesota. So, as you say, getting a home win out of the way is important. But the Blues, they know what when they're on their game, they know what it looks like, and it's early in the season, and they just kind of have to figure that out. Once they can get to that point where you know what to expect out of them every single game, they're going to be really good. They're a really talented team. They're an extremely well-coached team with good goaltending, and there's bumps in the road early in the season. But I really think that this is going to be a good team, and hopefully they'll be able to have some success the rest of this homestand. But when people ask me if I was concerned after the opener and after the Thursday night game against Chicago, what I said was, hey, this is a team that was in last place in 2019 in January, and they still won the Stanley Cup. So they just have to be patient with a hockey team.
It was magic. I remember the game against the Lightning in 2019, 3 goals in 75 seconds. Never heard a place louder than that. Felt the roof was going to blast off.
It was great.
At the Enterprise Center. All right.
So, Luke, great work as always. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody who joined us here with all of the chatting. By the way, we do have here on STL Sports Central, we've got a Mizzou postgame coming up. We've got a St. Louis City SC postgame coming up. So we have a lot coming up on the channel. Stick around and be sure you join us for those chats. And I will see you on Tuesday on the Randy Karraker Show. Luke, have a great weekend.
You as well.